Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Launch Sessions. Good to see you all. How's everybody doing?
Great.
Good? Everybody's doing good? All right. You have a warm spot planned somewhere soon where you can get a little relief, or I always have to have something on my calendar to look forward to. So, all right. Well, good to see you all. So today we have the wonderful Don Phelan with us today. And he's going to share, he literally built his business on working expireds. And I know in the last few years, there weren't always a lot of expireds. And so we didn't tend to work them, but we are starting to see those happen more than we used to. And so we're going to let him share his expertise with you. As usual, these classes are interactive, but today we're going to do it a little bit different. Don's going to share if you want to put your questions in the chat. And then as soon as we're done, we will come back and have some question and answer time. Okay? All right. Welcome. Don, how are
Yes,
you today?
I'm
It's all
fine.
you.
I'm good. Good, good, good.
Yeah. You're looking wonderful.
Oh, well, thank you.
All right. It's all you.
Okay. I started working expireds. It was 1989. It was actually uh, March 6th, 1989. I was sitting in the Floyd Wickman class. My daughter was 4 years or 4 days old, and I was transitioning from the advertising business into real estate. And I sat there listening to a guy by the name of Floyd Wickman, the trainer. And I decided at that moment that I was going to give up my job and become a real estate agent full time. I was trying to do it part time, didn't work. We've heard that story.
Mhm.
So the reason that I chose expired listings is like everybody else. I went out and tried to do everything all at once, total shotgun approach, no focus, no expertise. I was running around doing open houses and doing mailings and handing out my card at the McDonald's drive-through window and the whole thing. Nothing was working. And so one day I woke up and I thought, well, this is really stupid. And I thought, how do I focus my energies and focus my attention on where to prospect, where to spend my time? And it started to make sense to me that I would go after people who had already once made a decision to hire a real estate agent, as expired listings have done, which FISBOs are very resistant to doing. So I didn't really like FISBOs anyway, because, by the way, FISBOs know more about everything than you do, just to be clear. And just ask them, and they'll tell you. I did door knocking, I did mailings, I did the whole thing. But finally, I said, I'm going to focus on expired listings, and I'm going to go after people who have already made a decision at one point to hire a real estate agent and that they were unsuccessful at selling their home. And the other reason is that it was the best path for me to start getting paychecks quickly because I was going broke, flat out. I was just going broke. So that's what I chose. I chose to go after expired listings, and I started learning through Floyd Wickman the process for working expired listings. Um, and the process is, first of all, you have to understand that expired listings, you have to understand their mindset. They're angry, they're mad, they're upset. They didn't get their house sold. They haven't been able to go ahead with their plans. They're frustrated. They're mad at their agent. They're mad at the world. They're mad at you. And because you called them. And so the reality is that the one person or the one entity that they're not blaming is themselves. And that's okay. They never will. Okay. So, what we have to do when we start working expires is identify the mindset of the expired listings prospect. And as I said, they're angry, they're upset, they're going to blame everyone. And we don't want to defend ourselves against that. We want to go, okay, that's where they are. Um, and so, how do we go after the expired listings? And I tell people, uh, working expires is a process. It's not an art form. It's nothing fancy. Anyone can lose it. There are three principles that I tell people to start with as far as how they prepare their approach to an expired listing. Number one, never, 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 never berate your competition. It will only tell, if you criticize the prior agent, it's only going to tell the seller that they made a bad decision. That's not a great idea. Always take the high road. Always present what you can uh, provide to them, not what the other agent didn't. Get in the door honestly. One of the gimmicks, I will say, of people who are working expired listings and FISBOs is they approach the seller with the idea, hey, if I had a buyer, would you have? Well, the fact of the matter is 95% of the time they don't have a buyer. And the sellers know that. So I would recommend against using that approach. Get in the door honestly. Let them know that you're a real estate agent. And your intention is to get their listing. Um, and number three, keep it real. I'm going to give you some questions here. I'm going to give you some ideas of how to approach them, but use your own language. You don't want to come off as, giving them a spiel, a canned presentation. Keep it real, be yourself. Don't get into the 20 questions sort of mindset.
All right. So, so tell us about some of your stories with expired listings, working with them.
Um, well, they're always challenging. There's very few of them that are eager to hear from you. I will tell you that. And most of them, as I said, they're angry, they're upset. Their initial reaction is going to be something along the lines of, "So where were you when my house was listed? Why didn't you sell my home?" And don't take the bait. I tell agents, avoid taking the bait. Don't defend, don't explain. Forget now about providing options. We're not selling, we're trying to gather information. Stay focused. Our objective here is to get them to start talking. But before you even sit down to start making a prospecting call or knock on their door, whatever your choice is, take a moment and engage in some self-talk, have your mind right. Okay. Number one, you provide an invaluable service. You have to believe that about yourself. You may be able to solve their problem when nobody else can. And number three, remind yourself that you're strong enough to weather their rants and stay focused and listen carefully. Listening in this is a lot more advantageous than talking. Don't talk, listen.
Perfect, perfect. So, Don, in all transparency here, everyone, it's just been a day. Somebody printed what our outline today, and it's two-sided, it's all messed up. So
Okay.
if you wonder why I'm looking lost, I am so lost right now. So I apologize. They
No
are
problem.
flipped upside down in all kinds of ways. So we're just gonna have to be natural questions here, guys. I am trying really hard.
No worries.
So you might
Because
have to
I
ask us
have
a
the
few
outline
questions.
and I printed it on one side.
Well, I'm at Jackson and I couldn't get the printer to work, so somebody printed it for me and they print two-sided and it's not even close. I am so sorry.
No worries. We're
So
fine.
we might just need to just ad lib a little bit more here, okay?
So,
So
uh,
I don't know what the next question is, Don.
okay, no problem. So the first step is when I contact someone, let's say it's by phone, I
Okay,
introduce myself. I tell them I'm a real estate agent, my first, last name, the company that I work for, and I never, never, never act as if I have a buyer or I am a buyer unless I really do or I really am. So, um, and the question is, don't they try to cut you off immediately when they find out you're a real estate agent? And the answer is yeah. They're going to do everything they can to get rid of you because they don't like you. They're mad at you. You didn't do anything to them, but they're still mad at you because you're, oh yeah, real estate agent. So your job, though, is to imagine they're like a big balloon filled with air, filled with hot, steamy air. Trust me, after a couple of them, you'll get the picture. So your job is to let the air out, to get them talking to deflate that balloon. Listen to their rants. Don't defend. Don't try to fix it. Just listen. The more you listen, the closer you are to having a productive conversation. Don't defend yourself. Don't defend the agent. Don't shut down. Just keep listening and understand that although they're venting their frustration, you are not the source of their frustration. Take notes, lots of notes. Get as much information as you can. Ask open-ended questions, which is the who, what, where, why. Avoid why. It sounds like judgmental. So who, what, where, how. Those questions. Okay. Uh,
Okay. So do they typically, once you start asking questions, do they loosen up a little bit? I'm just trying to picture myself. Now you're still on the phone at
mhm,
this point, right?
right.
And they're going to be defensive, just like we're all defensive when we get those calls we don't want. So how are you breaking through that moment where, first of all, the agent really doesn't want to pick up the phone, but we're going to do it because Don tells us to. And then they're a little defensive. So help us to, like, how are you getting through that moment with them?
I have what I call five essential questions.
Okay.
And the very first question is, as I said, I will introduce myself. I'll say, hi, I'm Don Phelan, 5 Star Real Estate. I'm calling about your house at Happy Hollow Lane, 123 Happy Hollow Lane. Um, do you have a moment? No. Okay. Um, would it be okay if I asked you just a couple of quick questions? Why? Where were you when you sold my house? Uh,
Okay.
yeah, no, I get it. But I might be able to help you achieve that objection if I could ask you a couple of things. Would you take just a minute? And it's sort of that very gentle approach with them to get the first question out. The very first question every single time is, do you still want to sell?
Okay.
And you're going to get the answer of, well, I don't know. Do you have a buyer? And my answer is, I don't know. I haven't seen your house.
Okay.
But do you still want to sell? I'm always going to bring them back to the question. I'm not going to let them deflect me into something else. Well, we might wait till spring. Okay, I understand that, and that's cool, and I'm all good with that. Can I ask you a follow-up question? Um, Help me understand when spring starts for you. And so some people start thinking about spring right after the first of the year. Others want to wait until May until the blooms are on the rose. Okay. So
Hmm.
again, that's just a piece of information, one little piece. If they give you that little piece of information, you're making progress. And so generally, I will talk to them and say, well, we're not in any hurry. We don't have to sell. No, I understand. But if you could sell, um, what did you hope to accomplish? When you decided to put your house on the market, what did you hope to do? Well, we wanted to sell. Yeah, I got it. Heard you. But what does that mean? Were you going to go to a bigger house, smaller house, move out of the market, live in Des Moines? What were you going to do? Well, we wanted to sell and move to Florida. We're retiring, or my job is going to take us to Des Moines. Poor things. And so this is what our motivation is. Now we are beginning to understand their motivation. Okay, and so and then I shift just a little bit. When you had it on the market before, do you have any idea why it didn't sell? The phrasing of that question is really, really important because I'm blaming it on the house. It was the house's fault that it didn't sell, not the sellers, not the other agents. Do you have any idea why your house didn't sell? And they go, well, it was the other agent, of course. Um, Fair enough. Can you give me a little bit more information on that? Is there something that you feel that the real estate agent could have done to sell your house that wasn't done? Again, I'm not pointing the finger at the agent. I'm saying, what do you feel could have been done better to accomplish your objective? And so again, anytime they start to engage with you in answering those kind of questions, you're making progress. Don't jump to the next step. Take the steps very carefully. When you put your house on the market, now question number 4, when you put your house on the market, how did you arrive at your price? Well, the real estate agent made us. Uh-huh. Um, no, they didn't. The real estate agent probably provided some information, and then the seller probably decided it was like worth a whole bunch more than that. So that's this price, and they wouldn't come down and all of that. We know the reality. We know the truth in most cases. And what we want to do, though, is to identify in their mind what they feel the justification for their price is. So help me understand, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, if you had your house on the market at $190,000 or 300,000, whatever it is, um, can you help me understand how you feel your house ranked in comparable properties? Well, we had really heavy duty nails. Uh-huh. Um, or we had sturdy shelves that my husband installed. Uh-huh. So we're starting again to get more and more little bits of information, and that's the key. And the question number 5 is a bit of a gut punch, but it's a serious question. It says, what would it do to your plans if you could not sell? In most cases, they haven't even thought about that as a possibility. What do you mean? I can't imagine that my house wouldn't sell. It's a beautiful house. I have this beautiful olive green shag carpeting and Harvest Gold appliances. Um, so we're starting to, pick up little bits of information, and that's what you want to do. Keep asking the questions until you get an answer. Don't give up. Just stay nice, stay low key, gentle, but stay on task to get the answers. If you don't get the answers, for example, what would it do to your plans if you couldn't sell? Sometimes I'll use a technique called table the topic. I'll put it aside. I'll come back to it later and maybe rephrase it in a different way. So enough. And then I might come back and say, I'm looking at some of the similar homes in your neighborhood, and it looks like the others um, were selling somewhere in the range between 275 and 375. Can you help me understand where you feel you were into that range when your house is priced at 395, for example? And then they'll start to open up a little bit and say, well, we redid this and we did that and so on and so forth. And again, you're just getting information from them. You're not finding a solution. You're not going down that road. Um, Another way to rephrase the question is, so help me understand, would you guess that your home has more square footage or less square footage than similar homes in your neighborhood? What does your home have that other properties may not have as far as amenities? Do you have a jacuzzi pool or swimming pool or, whatever? And again, it's all about collecting information. I also use a technique that's called let's just say, or let's pretend. Let's pretend, for example, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, that we got your a property listed at $325,000, and you still weren't seeing an offer. Would you even think about getting the price into the 300 to 310 range? Let's pretend. And they go, well, no, we'd never consider that. Absolutely not. Okay, so maybe we've just identified that it's an unsaleable listing, that you're just wasting your time. Sometimes you just got to take a shot in the dark and say, listen, based on what I know about homes in your neighborhood, your home is worth somewhere between 450 and 475. Predictably, the prospect will say, well, I suppose, but I'm never going to sell it for that. Sell it for what? The 450 or the 475? I will guarantee you the answer is 475. They're always going to go to the high range. And so again, if we get that information, it's a piece of very valuable information, because you're going to be wasting your time if you think that house is worth 400,000 and they still think it's worth 475. So these are just some of those 5 essential questions.
Mm-hmm.
With all of this. Now, after a 10-minute conversation or more, 10, 15, here's what you know. We know whether they want to sell. Do you want to sell? Yes or no? Where they want to go. What did you want to do when you put your house on the market? Why their home didn't sell. It's the home's fault, not yours. Um, how much they want to get? How did you arrive at your price? And what would happen if they couldn't sell?
Mhm.
So um, the question is then, do you set the appointment? And the answer is no, not yet, because you have a decision to make. You have a decision to make whether or not you want that listing. And I tell the story of No Next. It's a delicatessen, a guy behind the delicatessen counter in a New York deli. Customer walks in and waits in line, and, and finally gets up, has a ticket, says, I'd like a quarter pound of smoked turkey breast. Deli operator says, no, next. Guy says, well, wait, what do you mean? No, next. He says, we don't have any. Next, which is kind of typical New York behavior. Anyway, um, see, if that deli operator had been a real estate agent, he wouldn't have said something along the lines of, "Oh, you want a 4 bedroom, 3.5 bath, 12-year-old, 2 story on 5 acres for 187.5." I don't have that, but I do have this very nice 2 bedroom bungalow in the city with no garage. Sometimes you just have to say, no, next. I can't sell you a product that's unrealistic. So sometimes we have to look at that and say, no, next. Thank you. Have a nice day. Um, if you do want the listing, then close for it and say, based on the information I've shown you you've shared with me, do you think you can give me five or half an hour, 40 minutes to sit down and share some thoughts about how we can help you achieve your objectives, yes or no? And they're going to say, no. Question. Um, and I will go back and I will rephrase and say, okay, so let me go back to your idea that you still want to sell. What would it take for me to show you that I might be capable of showing you a marketing plan and a procedure process that results in success? What do you need to know from me that would be helpful? Once you've gotten the yes for the appointment, then the question is, are we done? Okay, so we're going to meet at 7 o'clock on Tuesday, and oh boy, I'm so excited. Um, and a good agent would say thank you and goodbye. A great agent is going to say, can I ask you one more thing? Would you do me a favor and take me through the house, starting at the front door, and describe to me everything about your house, the colors, the decor, the layout, and you're going to gather an immense amount of information if they are willing to do that. And sometimes they won't. But I'll tell you a quick story. I called somebody and did this, and they said, sure, we'll do that. And they got to the basement and they said, so we have the daylight basement. I said, well, wait, stop. Help me. You said daylight. Those are the windows that come up to your waist roughly-ish. And they said, yeah. And I said, oh, okay. Because their agent on the multiple listing card had listed full basement. Well, as we know, full basement and daylight basement are of a huge difference in an appraiser's eyes, right? I said, can I come out to your house like in 10 minutes and we'll sit down and I'll show you exactly why your house didn't sell? And they went, you can do that? Uh-huh. Yeah. Uh-huh. Um, 2 hours later, I had their house listed. It sold in 4 days. Why? Because the previous agent had made a grievous error. That's why we want to do the walkthrough over the phone. You want to gather as much information as you possibly can. Once you get that appointment made, um, another thing you want to do is you want to make sure that all of the decision makers are going to be there. Whoever is an owner of that property, you want them there for that appointment. Don't go out on an appointment and have only one of them. It's they went to seller's school. Okay, like we went to real estate agent school, they went to seller's school. And they know that if only one of them is there, they as an entity can't make a decision. Don't fall into that trap. So now that you have an appointment, let's say, what do you do? And my answer is you get prepared. You get yourself incredibly prepared, doing all sorts of research about that house, about the market, about the stats in that neighborhood for sales and time on the market and so on and so forth. But that's for another session because I've rambled on now for about a half an hour.
Thank you, Don. That's good information. And who has questions? Anybody? Tracy does. You got to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I have questions. No, I just have a few, but I love everything you said. And let me tell you guys about all the FISBOs and the expireds that I've done. Yeah, no. I've done for sale by owners just because I had a buyer that ended up liking a sale by owner, but I've never gone knock, 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 or looked up their phone number or called an expired, look for an expired's phone number. Yeah, zero. Okay. So, but what I'm interested in hearing from you is somebody who has done it and figured out a way to how to go from having a job with a paycheck every week to I'm going to quit my job because I have a 4-month old. Wow, that's crazy. I love that story. But
No,
you did
Jen
it.
was 4 days old.
4 days. Oh, Jen, 4 days old. So, okay, but you did it, right? You did it. Sometimes when you are heck bent and I'm going to do something, you do it. And so you found this as your avenue in. And whether it was, a number of decades ago or or this week, right? There are still expireds. People still are unable to sell their house for one reason or another. Here's my question, I'm getting to it. Did you find a commonality in what you experienced when you talked with sellers? Was it always the same thing? That what I find is that when you sit with a seller, they're really not hearing what's coming out of your mouth as a listing agent when you're saying, here's what I believe the true cash value of your home is. Because they always have this artificially inflated, well, I've just painted everything and I spent $4,000 on this. Well, everybody gets paint, everybody gets carpet. You have to maintain a home. So that's really the question is, what was the commonality if there was one or two?
That's a really good question. I think that one of the things I came to learn after many years of working expireds is uh, most expireds listings, the properties themselves are what I will call hinky. There's something weird about them, whether it's, like an L-shaped living room or a little tiny kitchen and a huge house. They're on a busy street and so on. But that's but you can't fix that with paint or wallpaper or carpeting. The only thing that you can do is like rebuild the house or move the house. And so, for example, I had a whole bunch of objection handling techniques. So if I understand correctly, you feel your house is worth $375,000. Um, but you understand that it's on a busy street, so it has less marketability, for example. Am I understanding you correctly? Yes. So if I was to show you some information that might help you reframe it and look at it a different way, would you be interested in hearing that information? Well, I don't know. Fair enough. And then I go on to present the fact that you can't move the house. So the only way to accommodate the home's marketability in reality is to lower the price.
Mhm.
Does that make some difference to you? And so if you take what you're asking, Tracy, and say, uh, once you've identified the problem, once you've identified their motivation, so let me get this straight. You got to be in Wichita in 60 days. The average time on the market is 90 days. So how's that going to work out if you sell your home in 90 days, close on 120 days, and you were supposed to be in Wichita for the last 2 months? How's
See, I
that?
like that because what you figured out was you figured out what the pain point was. The pain point was timing.
Right.
If you didn't ask the right questions at the right time, he couldn't have winnowed in to find the pain point.
That's
And then
exactly.
he used it to his advantage.
And that's what those five essential questions will do. They will identify whether they want to sell, whether they're motivated or not, how much they want to sell, and when they want to sell. And all of those things are going to help you identify how to approach when you run into an obstacle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like Tracy said, their pain point and you're getting to their why.
Yeah. So, Uh,
Because most of the time, what I've heard you say is most of the time, the reason expired doesn't sell is either going to be price typically, or it's got some odd, like the homes that are beautiful in the specific neighborhood, specific school, it has something there that's whether it's the floor plan or the updates or the condition, it's typically going to be price or condition, location. There's something there, right, that's stopping it. Because we know the good houses in these markets that we've been in will sell.
yeah, it's like finding a 4 or 5 bedroom home with 1 bathroom.
Right.
That's going to be a toughie, no matter what. And
Yeah.
and the only thing you can do is compensate in the price. I mean, unless
Hmm.
you're going to find a way to put in a new bathroom, or
Hmm.
the same 3,000 square foot house with a 1 stall garage.
Hmm.
It's hinky. It doesn't fit the market. There's no place to put it.
So I'm
Um,
going to ask you some like real questions. In all those years that you went after expireds, and you were successful at it, what are the things that helped you get through them? Did most of them reduce? Did they go do some paint? What helped make you successful as you had these conversations? I'm just curious how you got results. How
yeah.
did you get results? You
Well, first of all, I started tracking my results from the very beginning.
okay?
And so I would go, when I would list a property, I would identify how many days it took to sell, and at what price of the listed price it sold for. And so that gave me ammunition over the years, even, just more and more and more of ammunition. And I said to people, these potential sellers, for example, here's my track record. On average, over the last 20 years, my listings have sold for 97.5 of the listed price. Okay. If I listed at $100,000, just to round numbers,
Mm,
$100,000, then the high likelihood is I'm going to get a list price or a sales price of 97.5% uh, on your property. Could you live with that based on whatever your uh, and they go, well, how can you be so sure? I said, because I've been doing this for a long time. I know. Um, I can tell you this: if you have not uh, gotten an offer on your property, then your property is um, more than 5% away from the actual sales price. Those are facts, those are stats. So if you've got a property, again, I'm going to use the round number, $100,000, and you're not getting an offer, your actual sales price is going to be $95,000 or lower.
mm,
So
okay.
when you start using statistics to say, oh, by the way, your house has been on the market, the average time on the market is, let's say, 60 days, whatever it is. Your house has been on the market for 120 days. And looky here, Zillow, Realtor.com, your multiple listing service, all of them have generated so many thousand views. Okay, it's been returned in 5,000 searches. Of those 5,000 searches, 2,500 of them went in and looked for additional information. And it resulted in, let's say, 20 showings and 0 offers. That is absolute proof that your house is overpriced, period.
Okay.
This is not a marketing problem, it is a price problem.
So a couple things should remember if you're going to work expireds, there's 4 agents in the room. If you're going to work expireds, we need to check the do not call list before
Mhm.
we call. Uh, is there value in your opinion, I know agents used to drop off a package or send an email first and then, or follow up with the package? Like what is your process? I remember once you showed us your physical process back a couple years ago. Like, what do you do? How do you determine? Give us some of the practicals that you do when you're going to go
Well,
after expired.
I built mine over by phone calls.
Okay,
I hired a company called the Red X. It's out there still. They're still doing it. They will scrub the do not call list and
okay,
provide you with sellers' phone numbers
okay.
to the best of their ability. The challenge, of course, now is technology has changed. But very often, the Red X or Vulcan or one of those will be able to track down the cell phone for the owner. Okay.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
as my business grew and I became more and more busy, hang on a second. I developed a package and I would have a listing package sent out in binder form. I don't know what's going on with my chair here. In sort of uh, three ring binder form, which showed my marketing plan, my creds, my successful sales. By that time, I had like over 400 of them listed. And so I would go to have somebody, a courier that I hired, drop them off. And I would say, and the note would say, thanks for chatting with me on the phone, or hey, here's my real estate information. I want to share this with you. If you haven't made contact, you can do a couple of things. Either drop that something like that, maybe a little bit less, um, in their door at their doorstep, or have somebody deliver it or mail it, and hope that they will call back. But that's what I call passive marketing or passive contact, and the percentage gets really, really low. So I've always found that reaching out to them by phone and having the conversation is going to be more successful. There's one thing that I think
All
is
right. Writing it out one more time. We've done 8 quotes.
Go ahead.
so there's one thing that I do consistently, especially when I have a good listing. I'm trying to think. I think it's been about 2 weeks ago, today actually, that I listed a home in Walker.
Okay.
Hills, just down the street from the office. And I immediately sent out my videographer, photographer, drone photographer. I called my daughter to get her ready for editing a commercial, got my voice guy down in Houston and sent him a script. And we did a video, which if you are friends with me on Facebook, or you can go to YouTube and type in Don Phelan channel, you will see it there. And it was monster. The house was priced at $495. It sold in 4 days. And so uh, it happened so fast that we didn't get this. Huh, the camera saw.
It's no, it's because you have the blurred on and it'll only pick it
Oh,
up.
is that it? Hang on.
Yeah, it's the background. Yeah, you have to take that background off.
See if I can get that removed. Where'd it go? Okay. Let's try this. Okay, yeah, that's better. Okay, see this four color, 8.5 by 11, four color, 4 page brochure? Oh,
Nice.
see, smashing. Okay, nice four color hard copy that I created for that for doing open houses. It cost me like less than $100 to do 100 of those. And I knew I had a pretty good idea that I wasn't going to ever use that brochure. But I'm able to go out to my next appointment and go, this is what the kind of thing that I'm going to do to sell your house. This is part of my marketing program. The video is part of my marketing program. The just listed cards that I sent out that looked very much like this to the neighborhood are all part of my marketing program. If you don't have a real marketing program, you're not going to be anything different than the rest of the agents.
Right. No, that's good. So Cindy has a question, and while we're taking that question, for those of you in the class, what questions do you have? Feel free to answer those or ask those. And Cindy's asking what company do you use, Don, for that brochure? Do you have a company
Oh,
that you
that was done through Prospects Plus.
Oh, I love Prospects Plus. They do
Yeah,
great work.
yeah.
Yep.
They do really good quality work.
Yep. Cindy, is your hand up? There you are.
Hi.
Hi.
I didn't really have a question, but I love what Don said about, and I think sometimes I make this mistake, but don't talk and listen.
Mhm.
Listen to what they're saying because I think you get nervous and you go in there, and I love that. And then the questions that you said, who, where, what, and how. Did I get that right, Don?
Yeah, again, avoid why, because that comes off as a little judgmental. But if you who, what, where, how, when, you know, Floyd used to teach us. They're called woven questions because you make your mouth in the shape of a W, and you go, when are you thinking of moving? And I was a brand new agent. It's a true story. I was a brand new agent doing the calls, and I called somebody, and I said, are you thinking about still thinking about selling? And he said yes. Now what? And all I could do was go, when are you thinking? Right now.
Okay.
Well, what if I come over? Sure, no problem. I went over, I listed the house, I literally sold it that day. So,
You never know. Well, what I'm looking here and
Oh.
thinking, we have four agents in the class. So you can see this isn't a very popular topic. All the better for you, right? Because not everybody that is working expireds will be in the class, but sometimes we have 20, 30, 40, 50 people in on a topic. So if you're willing to work these expireds, you're going to have competition, but probably not everybody's doing that. That's my takeaway.
You're absolutely right, Kim. And Justin, I'm going to address your question that you put in the
Yep,
chat.
yep.
When I got started doing this, I would arrive at the office usually about 7 o'clock in the morning, do the research, get on the phone by 8:30. I think that was the law back then. You couldn't call them before like 8:30 or whatever it was. I would immediately start calling, and my objective was I was going to call until I got an appointment. Didn't matter if it was 10, didn't matter if it was 30, didn't matter if it was 100. I was going to call until I get an appointment. Now, usually by 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I was really, really tired. So I would take a break and I would come back to it at 7 o'clock and call for another couple of hours and call till I get an appointment. The technique that I shared with you became so ingrained in me, and I got pretty good at it to the point that I would go in at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Monday, and in the course of the next 4 or 5 hours of calling, I would set up 3 listing appointments for that week, consistently in and out. So your hit ratio when you start out is going to be about 25%. You're going to get about, uh, 1 out of 4 of the listing appointments that you go on. As you start to build your marketing program and are able to convey that marketing program in your listing appointment and prepare all those things, your hit ratio is going to go up. And when I laid off pursuing expires, I was at 75% hit ratio. I went on
Wow.
listing appointments, I got 3 of them. So
The
again,
key is just staying consistent and improving your game, right? Improving it, getting better. We have a team that does this in Kalamazoo, and I know they're relentless and they get a lot of business from it. They're not with Five Star, a different company. So if you do what Don's telling you to do and you do it relentlessly and stay with it, it's not a one and done, right?
no,
It's going to be perfecting that craft. But even just say, even if you picked up, even just trying it and you weren't, getting 75%, what if you picked up 1 or 2 listings and you learned how to pick up 2 more? Um, not everybody's working expireds. And so if
no.
you could get really good at that, it could really help build your business. It's just one more thing. What's
And
that?
I will tell
Backpack
you,
Oh,
experiences.
backpack.
Every
Yeah.
time you do these things, you learn something, you pull something out, you learn a new language, a tool, what worked, didn't work. But if you never put yourself out there, you'll never know.
yeah,
Yeah.
you will find that if you're working this hard and you
Mhm.
get really, really good at it, you will find yourself competing against the same people over and
Mhm.
over and over. And
Right.
they're the good ones. They're the top of the game. But when you are competing against that 4, 5, 6 number of people, you're going to realize that you are at the top of your game as well. That you're up there running with the big dogs. So.
Don, one of the questions out there, if you have a script of any kind, is that something that you do have? And if you could you maybe post that and connect?
Um, I, well, let's talk about that. I mean, it's really the 5 questions. Um,
Okay,
I mean, I can share that with the group. We can kind of, you could probably do something like that. I'm not sure
okay.
I want to post it in Connect, unless we want to post the PDF of the whole expired's presentation. I mean, that I'll leave that up to you and Tracy and so on.
Okay.
Um,
All right. Well, I
yeah,
have the names I could send out to the four. I was just thinking, yeah, what's the easiest way to get to them? But
I
and
kind of hate to just sort of blanket blast it out there because without the context, it's
okay,
kind of
yeah. And that, well, I think they were specifically asking for scripts. Justin was. So I think that's something that
Yeah, just
I
like a
don't,
PDF or something like that, something
but
like that.
but do you have scripts all ready to go? That's you have the questions, but not so much scripts, right?
but yeah, I don't use scripts.
Just the 5 questions. Okay. All right.
I don't. I have objection handling techniques, which is I identify the question, clarify it, lay out my plan and close. But I don't actually use scripts. I only have those 5 questions and kind of
Okay.
play it by ear.
Okay.
Do you need those 5 questions?
I wrote them down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does anybody need them? Because we'll make sure you get them.
And I'll tell you one of the things that is just, I know we use this tool a lot, but literally take those 5 questions one at a time and go into Chat GPT and you can role play. I know sometimes it's better, it could be better for you if you have someone to do it with, but just practice. And and the thing with chat is if you ask it the questions in your personality, it'll shoot you back your flavor. And so Don
Right.
just asked the 5 questions. What's that?
I said that's really important to do it in your own flavor.
In your own flavor, because I would never ask it like Don. And if you play with that a little bit and just say, I am starting, an expired campaign. I want to start calling. You could even say, I'm a little hesitant. You can ask all kinds of things and it will help you get just some natural speaking questions, how to get through that. I have one question.
Yeah.
If they don't answer, I'm all excited. I got my list. I got all my expireds all ready to go. I'm going to start calling 901. I call door number one or seller number one. They don't answer. Am I leaving a message?
Absolutely.
You are. Okay. What are we saying?
Hi, this is Don Phelan, 5 Star Real Estate. Just calling about your home at Happy Hollow Lane. Just curious if you still want to sell. Call me. Here's my number.
Okay.
Just like that. Now, 100 people will not call you.
hmm
The 101st person might.
Do we call again? If I
Oh,
leave the message and they don't
well,
call me
if,
back.
if I call them and I don't reach them and I
Mhm.
leave a message, then yes, I will have a follow-up call like the next day saying,
Okay.
hey, to see if I can reach them. If they keep going to voicemail, I'm going to leave a message maybe 2 or 3 times, depending on how badly I want the listing.
hmm
But then I'll kick it. The story I tell is Mary. Mary Reardon was her name. And she's like one of the few people in my career who actually called me back from a voicemail message. It was
Okay.
like 2 weeks later. I had called and left a message, and she called back. She said, oh, yeah, I've been on vacation in the Bahamas or wherever it was. And she said, you called me and left me a message about my house. And I said, I'm sorry, but you actually called back? I did. But I was shocked. And so I said, yeah, just curious if you still want to sell. Yeah, I want to sell. Can I come out and talk to you? Blah, blah, blah. Went through the process. Got out, listed her house, sold her house. 6 months later, she had met a guy and now, she was going to sell her house and they were going to buy a new one together. And so we did that for them. And so that was 3 transactions over a message that was left on her phone.
So say I call, leave a message, call the next day, leave a message. Would it hurt to now have my fancy dancy little package that tells
Sure.
about
Yep.
me at the market? You just go drop it off at their door?
Wouldn't hurt. Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. And then maybe try another follow-up. It depends how much you want to pursue it, right?
Yep. I want to talk a little bit about FSBOs because people think that they can work FSBOs the way same way they can expire listings, and that's not true because they're in completely different mindsets. If you remember the very first part of this call here today, I said FSBOs know more about everything than you do. Just ask them, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is their mindset. That's not the expireds mindset. They're just mad.
Okay.
They don't claim to know everything. They're just angry. So the for sale by owner knows everything. And I don't get along with people very well who think they know everything. So FSBOs just weren't what I wanted. But what I did learn from a guy by the name of Tony Lewis, who worked at Remax, and he had what I call the Tony Lewis system, where he would send out mailers one after another, after another, after another, and he would never call them. He would just send out 10 mailers to every FSBO over the course of 10 weeks, and he had a constant rotation of those for sale. And his logic was that for sale by owners don't make decisions until they're probably 2 or 3 or 5 or 6 weeks into their attempt to sell their house themselves. And he was 100% correct. And his strategy was he wanted to be in front of them the moment that they changed their minds and decided to list. And he'd knocked back $500,000 in commissions for many years. He just retired recently, but for like 10 or 15 years, just working FSBOs with that very simple system. You
Okay.
wait for them to call. If they didn't call after 10 mailings, you threw their name away.
So it's a numbers game.
It's a numbers game.
And you have to be right on top of it because we all know the minute a listing expires, the phone starts blowing up their
Correct.
seller, correct?
Yeah, and I always get the question, well, should we call right away or should we wait a day and let it cool down, or should we wait, 2 weeks or a month? And I say, well, by the time you wait, they'll have listed with somebody else in most cases.
Mm-hmm.
Just because uh and Floyd used to say, if they say to you, you're the 10th agent that's called today, you could respond to them like, well, that's great news because my broker says I'm no agent at all. It was just funny. It was kind of a comic relief, but it was
Okay.
true too. Anyway, I think that you have to be consistent. I would get in front of people. Sooner is better than later, in my opinion.
Okay.
Get really, really, really good. And I used to, my friend Bob and I were both in real estate in 1989. And every Monday we would get together and we would role play. First him as a seller, then me as a seller, go back and forth, and we would role play for an hour until we got really, really, really good at it. So I encourage agents to actually practice what they're doing.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was just going to say this, that I think the difference for me between the for sale by owner and the expireds are this. The expired recognized the value of the agent. The relationship was off, right?
Mhm.
So there's one thing. The for sale by owner does not recognize the value of the real estate agent. So your
Mhm.
job is you really have to show your expertise to the for sale by owner. They don't value you. Most of the information that is available to us, thanks to Zillow, is now available to the public. So you really have to shine, really in both areas, Don. But I think specifically in the for sale by owner, you have to know your stuff. You've got to figure out another way around the the sale price. It's about your value and what do you bring to the
Yeah,
table.
I would
Mm-hmm.
totally agree with that.
Mm-hmm. And one of the last questions before we go is where do you find expireds? You can find those in your MLS. You can go into your quick search and there's an expired field there and you can put in the dates. You could set yourself up with a search that automatically notifies you anytime a certain home in a certain area expires.
Mhm.
And so you can, that's how I would do it. Any other thing that I would, that's what I would do.
Oh
Don,
no, I had a search set up every single morning. I would go in
that
and
show you. Yep.
anywhere from eight to 50 or 8 to 100, depending on how broad. I started out when I first started my career very broad. I was running all over the place, any county, anywhere. As I grew, I started to focus more on higher price ranges, tighter, uh, closer to home. Not to say that I wouldn't take something that was, $400,000, up in Cadillac or something if it was available. But yeah, you
And then
can't.
when I think about an expired listing, all I think of is flat, right? For 6 months, they have just been sitting, maybe or maybe not having showings, discouraged. The energy is so low at that point that I feel like you could get anyone's attention if you could build the trust that you could literally sell their house, because there is a lot that goes on. Say it's on for 6 months, and whatever's gone on by that time, like you said in the beginning, the air is gone out of that balloon. So you're really kind of resurrecting the dead and getting hope back on the table and being able to show value and show yourself as the pro that you can get that done. So they need a lot of pick me up.
I think that this goes back to the question, one of the questions that says, do you have any idea why your house didn't sell? And,
Hmm.
and then they start saying, well, it's all about the realtor, or it's this or that. You may already know the reason that it didn't sell, like the daylight basements thing
Hmm.
versus uh, the little bitty basement windows. So
Hmm.
I tell the story about Greg and Doris Davis, who lived on Ball Street in Grand Rapids. And I called them and I said, do you have any idea, among the questions, do you have any idea why it didn't sell? And they said, well, no, we have no idea. We've, it's lived here forever, blah, blah, blah. We talked through it, finally made an appointment. It was 7 o'clock on a Tuesday. I drive by on Ball Street. I drive by this way. I drive by this way. Back. I passed their house 4 times and I could not find it.
Hmm.
Suddenly I stopped because I was at the right address. And lo and behold, I saw a big pine tree on the east side of the road. The pine tree was so big, there was no sight of their house. Their house was out of view. And
Hmm.
I figured it out. I went in and we sat down. We went through all of our stuff. And I realized that I knew the reason that their house didn't sell. Nobody could see it because of the pine tree. And one of my recommendations to them was to cut down the pine tree. And they were appalled. They were like, well, that's, my grandfather's father's second cousin twice removed planted that thing. And I was like, do you still want to sell? Do you want
Hmm.
to sell or do you want to keep grandpa's tree? And so it was tough, but they actually cut the tree down and it sold in 10 days after being on the market more than a year. So sometimes telling them what is painful for them to hear is really the right choice and will get that kind of new energy, new excitement in the market that they haven't had a long time.
Perfect. Perfect. Good information. Any other questions before we sign off? No practical questions? Anybody?
Thanks all for joining.
Yeah, thank you, Don. We appreciate your time and expertise, and thank you for joining us. It's been a great class. If anybody has questions, you can always reach out to one of us, but even more so the pro, Don Phelan, and give the broker support team a call if you need us for anything. We're always here to help, okay?
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right, take care. Bye-bye.